Welcome to the talk show Life Stories with Marc Hoberman. The goal of this show is to provide a learning experience to people of all ages, with guests from various fields in academics, a wide range of industries, and insight into the many forms of art, athletics, and entertainment. We hope you enjoy the show. Image therapist Liana Chaouli is today's guest. Liana talks about style and how to enhance your life both inside and out.
Liana Chaouli, welcome to Life Stories with Marc Hoberman.
Thank you. I'm delighted to be here. Thank you for the invitation, and I'm looking forward to
have you.
Looking forward to discussing things with you.
I want to hear it all. This is the place. So, Liana, when did you first realize that you had the gift or expertise of helping people create a better image? Maybe even not just professionally, but maybe something when you were younger, maybe friends, maybe family.
Oh my God. I think that that's a great question. When did I first realize? I think that, I'm the first of three children. And I remember, this is a story I don't tell a lot. I remember my sister is a year younger than me. I was 2.5 years old, and my parents would leave to go out at night. And they would lock the door from the outside, but before they locked the door, they would stick their head around the door and they go, "Okay, Liana, you're going to take care of Angela now. Mommy and Daddy are going out." And the door would shut, and she would lock the door. And here I was, a 2.5-year-old, in charge of a 1.5-year-old. So I think that the way we are raised and the trials, tribulations, and blessings that we go through really impact who we become. And it's not just the way we become, it's we become a version of what our parents did or didn't do, what our grandparents did or didn't do to them. So these patterns are always handed down. So when you ask me, when did you first know that you could help people? I knew from the very beginning when I was a child that, because my mother was very ill when I was young, that if it's to be, it's up to me. That got created very, very early in my life. And it's what makes me a fantastic image therapist. And sometimes it's really hard in relationships with men. I mean, in my own, and I say this to you because I believe that as mentors, I always start conversations with what I don't want you to know about me is. And the reason why I do that is because we walk around with so much armor. And in my case, people use clothing as armor. But we walk around with so much armor. We don't want people to see this side. We don't want them to see our insecurities, the details of the disgustingness. We don't want people to see any of that. So we constantly armor up. And I find that when we tell people something about ourselves that the world doesn't know, or we don't want them to know because we hold it as a shield, it makes our life a lot easier. It's like we put down the armor so we can pick up our wings. That's the title to my new book, by the way. So picking up my armor was something that I realized that this is not going to work, because at some point we need it, just like a pearl needs the shell to grow. But then at some point, if you don't harvest the pearl, it's going to become all gnarly. So we don't need the armor after a certain age, but we think we do. And so we carry it into our lives. So when did I first know? I knew when I was a child. I knew that I could walk into a room, and this may to your ears, or to some people's ears, sound self-righteous and arrogant, but I knew that I would walk into a room and I'd light up the room. I knew that. Maybe as a child, all children know that because their souls are so sparkly, but I knew that I could make people laugh. And so I knew that that was helping. And to this day, I still do, because laughter is the mother of all learning. It's like when we laugh, we get something cements inside of our hearts through the neurolinguistic programming of the speech and the laughter and the action of connection. And we remember it. That's why, many of us are so lighthearted when we're around funny people.
Well, I think also you mentioned something about the armor and whatnot, and it's very powerful. But I think that also honesty is very important. I mean, I think that you light up a room because you have the confidence when you walk in to know that you're an open book.
I don't have anything to hide. That's
Right.
right.
Yeah, and then
And
some
it
people walk
makes
into
my
rooms,
life
right?
so easy, Mark. Can I
Yes.
just tell you?
Yeah,
It's like nobody can come to me and say, "Oh, but you said this and now you're saying this." I'm like, "No, it's all this is what
exactly.
you get. The
Right.
truth is the truth." So when you repeat the truth, it's there.
Right. Well, I hope the viewers see the power in that because honestly, when you walk into a room only thinking about what you're going to hide once you get in, that's the opposite of what you do. So
And
that
it's
makes me
so cumbersome. You know, my father, we grew up in Germany, and my father used to say to me, Lügen haben kurze Beine, which means lies have very short legs that can't run very far.
Mhm.
So this thing about constructing this world of lies and this web of untruths, let's call them, or stories, is not, it's like it's not conducive to us living a free and self-expressed and unencumbered life. So I'm like, you know what? Why don't we just talk truth?
Right.
What else is there? You know, authenticity is the highest currency in our world today, I believe, Mark.
Oh,
And it's
absolutely.
something that's sorely, sorely, sorely missing, you
Mm,
know.
absolutely. I
The
love that
time.
saying. I mean, I quote a lot of times family members, but Judge Judy, along the lines of what you just said, is if you tell the truth, you don't need a good memory. because because you have to remember what the lie was. So I just love that whole philosophy. I want to hear a little bit more about your book, if you wouldn't mind telling us about that.
Well, I wrote a book many years ago that became a bestseller on Amazon. It's called You Are a Masterpiece. And then once that happened, I'm like, oh, wow, I can write. I didn't know that I was a writer. But, you know, one of my mentors used to say many, many years ago, I've been doing this for 40 something years. You know, when one of my mentors many years ago said, if you can tell stories the way you tell stories, Liana, you can write.
Hmm.
But because I was so dyslexic, I'm still dyslexic. I'm severely dyslexic. I speak all these 5, 6 different languages and learning more, but to read is really hard for me. So my biggest gift that somebody can give me is to read to me. But writing was like, okay, well, I can't write because I'm having a hard time. But then I did, you know. I took Lisa Nichols, she's a friend of mine. I took Lisa Nichols' advice. And we're all in a transformational leadership group together. And she said, look, I just speak it into my computer. I just have it, you know, Dragon transcribe. This was when Dragon was still.
Right.
So I started writing, and the book became a bestseller. It's still on Amazon, and I wanted the whole world to read it. So it's only 99 cents, and you can download it on your Kindle. So You Are a Masterpiece, by Liana Chaouli. And then I decided, oh my God, I can write TED Talks, I can write other books. So there's 4 in the pipeline. The
Mm.
one that I just mentioned, Put Down Your Armor So You Can Pick Up Your Wings, is about the understanding that we come into this world whole, pure, and complete as children. And you look at children and you look how they're running around and they're having fun until they're maybe 2, 3, 4 years old. And then they start to go, oh, I can't do this and I can't do that. And if I do this, then mommy isn't going to like it, or daddy isn't going to like it, or someone isn't going to like it. So they become smaller and smaller, meaning they put on the armor so this part can't be hurt and their shoulder can't be. They're almost like we all become like football players.
Mm.
And Put Down Your Armor and Pick Up Your Wings is all about the realization that I had. I died in 1992, and I flatlined on an operating table. And the first thing that I saw after I left my body was a movie of all the moments in my life when I was inauthentic, all the moments in my life when I should have said I love you and my ego wouldn't let me, the moments in my life when I hung up the phone without saying I'm sorry or I love you or can we talk soon? I miss you. all the moments that were captive in the ego because I thought I would make myself smaller if I absolutely was warm-hearted and sincere. So all those moments went by, and this experience still to this day, it happened in 1992, and to this day it impacts me. So put down your armor and pick up your wings, or so you can pick up your wings, is about actually examining, do I really need to be this harsh or this hard person? And what am I protecting? What if I want love, the only way that this is going to be loved, this and give love, is if there are no concentric circles of, no, you can't do this and you can't do that. And there's only one way to be for us in the world. And that way is to be living life with an open heart, because the heart opens and closes and opens and closes. And when we shut this down, there's no more circulation. It's like money. Money is energy. Love is energy. And when we shut that down and we shut the armor and we become like, like Iron Man,
Right.
nothing goes in and nothing comes out. And look at the state of our world. I mean, I truly believe, Mark, that the state of our world is the way it is, and there is no peace because the individuals of who we are, many of us are not at peace.
Mm.
I created Image Therapists International more than 40 years ago. And when you say, how did you know you were going to help people, Liana? It's like I knew as a child, as a Persian Jewish girl who was raised in Germany, who was at the Golan Heights when they were attacking Israel as a little girl. I remember in a kibbutz, and we saw the fire. I believe that peace is possible, but peace does not start in those borders where people are fighting. Peace starts in here. And I knew that as a child. And I thought, if I can create a space or a world or an environment and communities where people can learn to be at peace with themselves and then be the beacon of peace in somebody else's world, that's the only way we're going to achieve peace. We're not going to achieve peace when people are talking about armament and when big pharma is talking about getting people more sick because that makes money. We're going to achieve peace if every human being has the agency to get to their own peace and be the masterpiece who masters peace. That's been my saying for about 45 years.
Mm.
I am the masterpiece who masters peace, because every human being is a magical miracle. The fact that we are here and that we get to live life. I was just listening to deGrasse Tyson. He was talking about what a magical miracle it is to be a human being alive in this world.
Mm.
That's an incredible miracle. So with that miracle that we are, look at what we're doing with our lives. We're throwing it away. We're killing each other. We're hating on each other. You're black, you're brown, you're fat, I'm short, you're not. It's like it's all this division. No, I can tell you, we can talk for hours, Mark. And so one of the things that we first talked about is like be on time, because every second counts.
Ooh, absolutely.
If you're on time, you're late.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I thought I heard of every form of therapy. I was in teaching for over 30 years, so many forms of therapy. But what is an image therapist? I mean, you could break it down easily from the words, but I'm sure that you have some golden view for us. I'd love to hear what your
Well, when
view
you
is.
when you saw that, what did you think? Like you said, oh, I've heard of every form of therapy, but what in your mind, what did that spark?
Interesting. So I can answer that, but I'm skewed by what I've been watching lately. I binge watch shows. So I'm binge watching this show called Billions, and I just binge watched Suits. So I'm thinking that I called you and said, look, I'm running for governor. My image stinks. Give me therapy. So,
Yeah.
so,
So image therapy got created because my mother was my first client. She was in bed all the time with covers over her head. And I would go, and she tells the story on stages that I'm on. She tells the story of, My little girl would go into my closet and pull on the hanger until the hanger broke. She was 3 years old and she didn't know what she was doing. And she would come and lay everything on my bed. And then she'd pull the covers off my head and say, Mommy, please get dressed, because when you get dressed, you look so pretty and you're going to feel so much better. And then we can go out and have fun together. And then she says, I couldn't follow my daughter's invitation because I was too ill. But you can follow her invitation because she's the best. I know that she's the best at what she does because I was her first client. So the truth is that we have an inner construct. Okay, we come into this world with a soul. Maybe the soul already has an imprint. As children, you can see children's souls. You can see if they're introvert or extroverts. You can see what they're good at. You can see that in early childhood. And people may not be paying attention to it, but I can see it. So there's an inner construct of a human being, and then there's the outer, okay? The inner is the image therapy part, the healing art of image therapy. And the outer is the image that the world says, oh, you have to wear suits, you have to look this, you have to have $1,000 shoe. So I took the world of therapy and the world of image and I put them together because this is how we want to show up. But most people don't show up in harmony. They show up in dissonance. The inner says one thing and the outer, they're trying to mask. They're trying to use clothing as armor or shield to say, hey, look at me. I'm wearing this Chanel suit and I'm the blah, 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 blah. But the inner is completely disconnected, completely afraid, completely disattached, not unattached, but disattached. And so when you show up like this, because we are feeling, breathing, intentional, intuitive animals, we know when someone's lying to us. They don't need to be talking. We watch depressors and we watch micro expressions. You like watching shows, go watch the show Lie to Me. Who is it's a wonderful show about a doctor who went into the jungle and started listening and learning about people's body language. We don't have to open our mouths to lie. We can walk into a room and completely be inauthentic and people will get it. They can taste it. And they don't have to be psychologists or therapists. Okay. So one of the things that we do know about one another is we know, where you can lean in and someone's going to hold you and trust you. And we don't need a lot of therapy to do that. However, when this masterpiece grows up to be 25, 35, 45, 60, 70, I have 80-year-old women in my workshops, Mark, sob. And they say, where were you, Liana, when I was 25 years old? Why didn't somebody teach me all of this? Access to my own greatness, access to my own beauty, access to my own willingness and my ability to be who I am, because it's all inside a human being. It's just the armor that the world puts around us, fashion puts around us, makeup, dye your hair, get a bigger ass. Why are your boobs so small? Blah, 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 blah. All of this stuff. There's nothing wrong with any human being. It's just wrong with the way we think. We don't go out into nature and say, hey, listen, these roses are just too white and they're just too pale. Let me just spray paint them and make them look more beautiful. We don't do that to a tree. We don't do it to butterflies. We don't do it to nature. Why on earth do we do it with ourselves? So the understanding of who we are, the pathway from bud to blossom, okay, is the image, the healing art of image therapy. It's like when you get to a place where you go, this is who I am. If I am 5'3" and I'm 150 pounds and Oprah's going to come and sit on my couch tomorrow, this is the masterpiece I'm going to get the honor of dressing. This is my temple. So you can be with what's here, which is one of the tenets of image therapy, living life exactly the way it is and exactly the way it isn't. Okay? Being with that yin and yang, because what's here, this is what's here. I'm 64 years old. This is my body. these are my crafts, these are my gifts, these are my shortcomings, being with it and recognizing the authenticity of what I can and cannot do, that's where every human being has agency. Denial is not a river in Egypt, and you can't swim in it.
Right.
But most people would rather swim in that non-existent river
Yep.
than go internal.
Sure. Well, a couple of things that resonate with me. Talk about body language. I've done training at camps, schools, and even some corporate. And people don't realize 70% of communication is body language. So when you say we can know someone's lying to us before they even talk, and being a dean of students, I knew when a kid came in, did he curse at the teacher or not? Just by the way he sits down in the office. So that is so important. But I want to talk about something else about your background that I want to learn about, because you've often been called the sage of style, but that doesn't come from birth. So on my show, I often talk about the story behind the glory. So I'd like to know what struggles you had to overcome to be so successful in your industry.
Oh, I think we need.
You may need an hour for this one.
I think we're gonna need a little more time for this one, but struggles. I think that I always say, Mark, I am bigger than my circumstances.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people don't, in the beginning, they don't get that. Or I say, trust is given, trust is not earned. And what I mean by that is that I am the antenna in my own life. So for those of you who are listening, you are the antenna. If you can trust yourself, you can overcome anything. And when I say look at your shortcomings and look at your blessings and look at what you're good at and what you're not good at, it's because understanding, know thyself, physician, know thyself. When I get who I am, and in the beginning, when we're younger, we don't want to admit to ourselves that X, Y, and Z is not a power that I have. We don't, we run after things that the world tells us to do, rather than looking inward and going, what am I good at? What is my passion? So when you ask me, how did you get good at what you're doing? I followed my heart, Mark. I didn't want to sell out. I was a very young mother. I was 18. I got married at 16. The reason why I got married at 16, my grandson just asked me that. He's like, Nana, wow, I'm 16. You got married at my age? I'm in 10th grade. I'm like, yep, baby, I did. And why did I do all that? Because I felt in the family that I was raised, the only way for me to have my freedom and to live my life the way I saw fit. Now, what the hell does a 16-year-old know? Nothing. But I felt incarcerated. I felt there were too many Persian Jewish rules. I wasn't allowed to have friends over. I had all these restrictions. Now, when you ask me, how did you get here? The reason why I'm sharing those restrictions with you is because there will always be boundaries and restrictions in the world. So the fact that I had boundaries and restrictions as a child is no different than having boundaries and restrictions and people saying no to you when you grow up and become an adult. Mm-hmm. And yet, knowing as an adult and with more maturity and more expertise or experience, or maybe presence of mind, you can look at a situation and you can make different choices. And making different choices is different than reacting to something. So when we do not know ourselves, we are much, much more reactive. And we're not reactive. This is what I believe in doing therapy for 40 years with people from royalty houses in the Middle East to actors in LA to people who are high-level executives all over the world, to nurses, to school teachers, and then the next generation of their children, okay? It doesn't matter whether they're people who have a lot of money or nothing. We are reactive because we are afraid. And living life wholeheartedly, to be able to witness ourselves with all the shortcomings and all the blessings, takes courage. And so I invite you to be courageous and go forth and fail. So when you ask me what got you here, a lot of failure got me here. A lot of stepping into the unknown, because that's all life is. Life is nothing but every minute stepping into a new unknown. Every minute. I don't know if I'm going to be here tomorrow. When I had that death experience, Mark, I came out of it and I was at home. I had lost a lot of blood. I was in bed for 2 months and I had a lot of time to think. And I realized that every moment, I don't know if I'm going to be here tomorrow. So if I want to say something to you and you're right in front of me because God has put you in my life, or source or the universe or whoever, whatever you believe in, you're here for a reason. But most people don't say you're here for a reason. They go, no, I don't want to talk to you. I want to talk to the person behind you or the person on the other side of the room. Baby, this is what's here. So can you be with life exactly the way it is and exactly the way it isn't? And then I go a step further and I go, we create our own lives. So whatever the mess is, it's a reflection of what's happening inside my heart and my head. And all of this, to answer your question, how did I get here? By being pushed into taking responsibility for my own thoughts, for my own actions. Today, I don't have to be pushed anymore. Today, I wake up and I say, this is my life and I'm responsible. I am the architect of my own world. I am the captain of my ship.
That's phenomenal advice. And the viewers picked up some what I call liquid gold today. So let me just take a moment to speak to the viewers, just to remind them to watch us. This will be on E360, available on Wednesday nights at 9 p.m. EST, available on Roku, Apple TV, Amazon Fire. Remember to follow us on social media. Life Stories with Marc Hoberman is on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and of course our YouTube channel. So make sure you subscribe. Liana Chaouli, I can't thank you enough for being so authentic and open and honest with us. It's a pleasure having you here today. Thank you.
Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you for watching Life Stories with Marc Hoberman. To contact Marc, email him at info@lifestorieswithmarchoberman.com or visit him on social media through Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and LinkedIn. Thank you for watching Life Stories with Marc Hoberman.